I think he beat the horse of the year, Princess Kala. Is that correct?
What happened last week? I know he's 2 from 2 over course and
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah, I'm sure that he actually caused a big upset years ago and beat her at this track.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Coastal Boys. Today we'll preview in Durbanville, again in the Cape. Difficult meeting, but I think possibilities of dividends. Hey, Marcus.
Oh, well, thanks, Andrew. I hope you're in fine fettle.
Always, sir. Always. Just a bit bleary-eyed. It was a plethora of sport this weekend, from the horse racing to the golf. I see a South African one, the BMW Open, 39 years old. Took him a while, but he eventually got a win on the DP Tour. And then the soccer last night. I mean, even the soccer on Saturday, Mexico, Paraguay versus France. I mean, I think Paraguay tried to kick France off the park, never mind try and score goals. And the amazing stat, I think France got 4 or 5 yellow cards and Paraguay got 0. It's a funny game at the best of times. And then last night, imagine that atmosphere in that cauldron in the Azteca last night. Oh, geez, that I think is probably one of the games of the World Cup. 90,000 fans. I think probably 78,000 or 80,000 of them being Mexican. And England managed to hold on. Is it coming home? We've heard that a few times.
Yeah, lots of excitement and drama. Just a feast of sport around the world. I mean, Wimbledon also happening at the moment. You've got the Open coming up too. Yeah, just a extravaganza.
And you can get your sports bet on with Interbet as well. Don't forget that.
Absolutely. All the sports betting markets are covered, so you can pile in as you wish.
But let's kick on with the main action of the day. Durbanville. We're back at the track. I read the course report, the petrometer reading. Petrometer reading is a stick they use to take the going. Some horses perform better on good going, and some perform better when there's been a bit of rain. I see the going is good. It's a petrometer reading of 22, and they're forecasting 15 to 20 kilometer tailwind tomorrow, which shouldn't affect the runners too much. We start in the first, as we normally always do. It is Durban welcomes you to the maiden juvenile plate for the girls, for the fillies, over the 1,000 meters. The betting is money for wings of On the Wings of a Dove, from 7 to 10 into 6 to 10. Bit of money for Viridian Ruby, a first timer from the Rich Yard, from 12 to 1 into 5 to 1. World of Secrets has gone the other way, 6 to 1. 12 to 1 Uncut Gem, a first timer for the Marshall Yard, 16 to 1, and better the rest.
Andrew, yeah, look, I think we can get through this race quite briskly, because unless there is a market springer, On the Wings of a Dove, who ran second to Sparkling Star on debut 52 days ago, has the best form. Look, half of the field are debutants, so you will need to check out the prelims closely, follow what's going on in the parade ring and the canter past, and just monitor the action on the Interbet exchange as closely as possible. But form-wise, it's very thin. There's just one horse that has done something of note. That's On the Wings of a Dove, who is now predictably deep in the red.
I certainly concur. I mean, the second or the third favourite, the second favourite of the run horses is World of Secrets. She led last time, but she has got Stillgate 1 this time, which I think Richard will probably take much use of. And Wings of the Dove, if she comes forward, she does look to win this race. On debut, she was slightly nibbled at from 20s into 16s. She was beaten by Sparkling Star that day. She played up at the gates, just a little negative for that, but maybe with a bit of learning, been at the track once. I have had a whisper about the horse that they have back, Viridian Beauty, Viridian Ruby, the daughter of Eric, the Red Corner, Pierre Corner rides for the Rich Yard. She's drawn 8, her first time at Durbanville, one that I would include in all trifectas and quartets. And if the favourite should fluff her lines, I think that is probably the horse that'll give the most cheek. as you said, of the rest. They've had their chances, the ones that have run. And the other one that had a little bit of form, Burst to Bubble, with Bungani on board, a stable companion to Michelle Rix's Viridian Ruby, drawn 12, which is a massive negative. We've spoken about the draws before. So first timer, Viridian Ruby, will be chasing probably On the Wings of a Dove.
That's it.
Race number 2, Lucky Fish, New Fortune Maiden Juvenile Plate over 1,200 meters. The betting is another thinnish race. Mordecai, in from 12 to 10 into 9 to 10. Cracker, drifting slightly, out to 7 to 2. First time a California Cat from the Cinder Woodruff, 9 to 2, 11 to 2. Platinum Grey, 14 to 1 and better the rest. Just as the first race, if this horse comes forward from his first run, the son of a worm, I think he's going to take a power of beating. Mordecai, Craig Zaki on board, drawn 2. I wasn't enamored with the second favourite, Cracker. Michelle on board, drawn 5. Not a smidgen of money for it last time, and ran 11 lengths behind Kalahari King. Even though that form line is strong, there's been 4 winners from that form line. Slow away on debut. Green hung out. If it's come forward, I think could be there and thereabouts, but not one that I'd be backing. Platinum Grey, another one that has to come forward. None of the trainers were really enamored about their horses. The first timers, there weren't too many positives about California Cat. And even though I think the stable Cat could win. She's such in hot form. Lucinda and Vision of Flame, another first timer, drawn 9, which is not a positive. For me, I think it's all about Mordecai and probably improvement from the 2 horse runners, Cracker and Platinum Grey. But I think Mordecai will take a power of beating.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Andrew. The form line to One Magic, I think, will stand up nicely. The speed figure was pretty solid. One Magic, of course, runs later in the card. We'll get around to his claims at that point. The second horse, My Bonnie Boy, has come out and won subsequently, so it's already starting to get a nice shape to that form line. And Mordecai was mildly supported on that case, on that occasion. What is an interesting stat, Andrew, is the most improvement that horses make statistically is from their first start to their second start. If you look at how horses improve, that's usually the run where they make the most substantial progress. So a horse that showed up reasonably well on debut often makes a big jump forward at their second start. So Mordecai has got a lot in its favor. Again, there are a couple of firsters that we may need to factor in closer to race time, but yeah, as you said, it's a thin race. Mordecai definitely has the best form. I was just looking now at the Woodruff's stats. You're not kidding when you say she's in hot form. Of the last 30 saddled, 9 winners, 4 seconds, 4 thirds. That's good going. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, horses do come forward, and in feature races, they always say, oh, look, people like us say, you never know how much forward a horse can come forward from one run. Once they've got a run under the belt, they seem to improve lengths. But there are some trainers that get their horses ready first time up, and I think the stats do show that if you look at the stats, some trainers are just better with juveniles, some take time with juveniles, try to make them the longevity of the horse rather than getting a horse to win first time up.
Yes, very true.
Number 3, a maiden plate for fillies and mares again. We're stepping up in trip slightly to 1,400 meters. The betting is Spanish World, 11 to 10. 2 to 1 odds on the evens, 3 to 1 into Bandy, 10 to 1 and better the rest.
Andrew, I see you've gone for Spanish World as your best bet, and I'll be pulling for you here. Improved at its second start, just as we were chatting about. That was a much better run to scandalize. The opposition, well, odds and evens has been getting closer at each start, but that Sing Forevermore form line looks very shaky to me. 5 have run since, and not one of them have hit the frame. So I'm not convinced that odds and evens is going to be that much of a threat. Intabindi alternates bad runs with good runs. Her most recent run to subsequent winner before sunrise reads quite well in the context of the race. So my quick take on it is Spanish World on top with Ntibindi as perhaps her only danger. But I'd be very interested to hear the argument that you're going to put forward for Spanish World.
Sure, Marcus. A small field awaits us. This filly improved from start 1 to start 2, unfancied on debut. She ran 7 lengths behind in hot water. Then she ran subsequently on the 16th of June, about a month ago, 21 days ago. I mean, she ran second behind Scandalace. There was shrewd money for her that day. Craig Zaki on board. She's a one-world filly out of Seville Orange by Duke of Marmalade, so she should stay. So the step up in trip, a big suitor and a big positive for her. And I think if she just comes forward slightly, I don't think she's bumping the strongest of races. I mean, Ntibindi probably the one to take quartets and swingers, exactors and swingers with. I agree with you. Her form lines have been quite decent. Even the last one, there's 2 winners from 3 runners so far. She's never really been supported in the market. She's always been double figure prices, and Richard stayed on board her, which is a positive. He's riding well. He rode the July handicap winner. And I wasn't sold on Oz and Evans. I mean, she looks to be the second pick of the stable. Callum Murray to come down to ride this. I mean, I just look at the form lines behind, even Black Nightshade did with 10 runners in the race, 9 have subsequently run. She loses start at the gate as well, and I do believe with Spanish World, she will come forward and think she will take the power of beating, and I've made her my best bet on the day. My Andrews Arrows, Spanish World.
There you go.
Race number 4, Racecourse Incentives, powered by Hollywood maiden plate, stepping up even further intro now to 1800 meters, 16 to 10 Liflang, 4 to 1 Frequent Traveler, 9 to 2 Sparkling Sky, 5 to 1 Up in Flames, 6 to 1 What Will Be, 6 to 1 Quiet Place, 50 to 1 and better the other runners. An interesting 1800 meters awaits us. I'll start from the top. Up in Flames, 3 runs over the distance, 2 runs at the track. Positive for me is that she's drawn well, but she's held on the Kisses run. I'd pass her by. Quiet Place, Michelle on board, drawn 2. That's the positive. She has 1 second at the course. I think he will have to come forward. Frequent Traveler, Gregenian, Richard Foree, maybe a jockey strike. No, I need teasy corner is decent enough. Ran just behind Master Coiner last time in the same race as Quiet Place. Must have an outstanding chance. They've put the money down a few times on this gelding, and he has fluffed. He's also been at the course 4 times for not a single place. The positive is that he's drawn 3 this time and must have a chance. Wouldn't be piling in. He's had enough chances. He's had 12 runs for 5 places. What will be is held on the Master Coiner run behind a couple of horses. Craig Zaki on board for the Justin Snaith yard. Stepping up in trip, could come forward, but we would like to see more. And then we get to the favourite. Liflang holds most of the field on the run behind Kisses. She is gracefully out of her warm. She has come well, and she looks to be improving every time. On her second last run, she was held up, and she didn't get the run of the race. She's getting, I would say, a jockey strike, Callum Murray instead of Mr. Plikes. Callum Murray has ridden her before, so he probably knows her. She deserves to be favourite, but could I take 16 to 10? I'm afraid not. And then we move on to the one that I think has a squeak. Even though he's held number 10 Sparkling Sky from the Ricks yard, her stable is in form. The only negative for me is that she's drawn 10. This 3-year-old filly out of a warm. She was hit the rail last time. She clipped heels. She was cut into, and I think I'm expecting a better run this time. I mean, she has run over 1800 before. She ran 3rd. She hasn't performed at the track, but those were her debuts over 1250 and 1400. I believe she's come on from what she's been doing. She's been on the track, and I think it's a trappy race. I couldn't be taking 16 to the 10, the favourite. I'm not sold on others in the race. I would just be probably having a small each way bet on Sparkling Sky, even though drawn 10. And she hopefully comes forward and runs a massive race.
Andrew, yeah, Sparkling Sky, I mean, she very nearly came down. There was lots of drama on the bend last time, and she has a shake on prior form. That would bring her into the equation. She has flashed some early speed. So maybe Corne Orfer, who's a very experienced rider, can get her over from that wide draw. You've placed the field in context. And unfortunately, it is a low grade trappy heat. It's not going to take much winning, and it's never advisable in fields of that nature to take short prices. Liefling probably, looks about ready to win. She's had two good efforts over 1400 and 1600, and she now goes to a longer route. What will be can get closer. You've named the primary candidates. Frequent traveler, still a maiden after 12 starts. I tend to give horses 10 starts, and beyond that, then I really, then they get kicked into touch. That said, obviously, you get horses who develop later, or maybe the trainer only finds its forte belatedly, and then they, still go on to have productive careers. But generally speaking, horses that are any good tend to win early on, regardless of trip or going or running style. So you've got to put a question mark against a frequent traveler who's had plenty of chances. But whenever Richard Fourie rides for Greg Enion, they mean business. Place Michaela Michelle is an excellent rider. I was chatting to Carl Nisius about her abilities, and he was telling me that she really is highly capable, and the fact that she's getting 1.5 kgs as a claim is a big advantage. She's internationally experienced. Apparently, she might be going on to Japan for a stint. So, in a race of this nature, that could well make a difference. And Up in Flames will be advantaged by the longer trip and the low draw. She's been placed in similar fields on a few occasions. But this is a race where exotic players are advised to cast a wide net. That would be my conservative advice. I don't have a strong opinion in a weak maiden field.
Just to circle back on what will be, they did have a big punt on her the second last run, when she ran 4 legs behind Caesar's Radso. She was backed in that date from 10 to 1 into 3 to 1. I mean, she's only had one run at Greyville behind Probably Instinct on debut. He fluffed his lines on the next start. Wasn't seemed to be fancied. I mean, if the step up in trip suits, I think he's another big runner. We know there's going to be a hot pace. If you watched the race last time, this horse, Arkansas State, from the Pete Whittier, I think we're 25 lengths clear last time. And then the parachute came out at the 400. It was either the parachute or the sniper, because she ended up running 20 lengths behind Glenn Harmond. But on that, with Varunchuri on board down to 52.5 kilograms, she's going to skate, and either going to let her get away and cause an upset, or they're going to. I don't think she's that good enough to win a race like this. But we know the pace is strong, and when there's a decent pace, we generally get a form result.
The pace does make a huge difference in all races, Andrew. Whether it's a low key maiden for battlers or high class stakes races, the pace is always significant. So if you can somehow plot what might unfold, you don't necessarily have to go to the lengths of creating an accurate speed or a heat map, as the Aussies call it. But if you've got some sense of how the pace is going to work out and where your horse is going to be in the running, that often is a very important aspect of handicapping. So I think you're right.
And a big
They'll
point in my
probably
study,
go, yeah, for sure.
you have to see where the pace is going to come from. If they're hold up horses, if there's going to be no pace up front, could cause a bit of chaos. Point in case was the July handicap on Saturday. Richard Fourie won the race round the bend when he decided to come forward round the bend, even though 5 or 6 wide. He made up the ground, and he was in contention with 200 to go. I think he probably hit the front with 200 to go, just the angle.
Andrew, just a very, very apt comment that you've made there. That was a race-winning move going through the 600. Absolutely. I'm just looking at the sectionals. I think Note to Self did produce a sectional of around 34.4, 34.5, 34.6 for the final 600. And that mid-race move by Fourie was absolutely decisive. So you're spot on. It was That was vital. Yeah.
Trace to steady as you go, open handicap maiden over 1,250 meters in Durbanville. Aren't we blessed? The betting is 3-1 Protector of Peace, 33-10 The Big Bang, 4-1 Racetu, 9-2 Montessori, 7-1 My Sunshine, 12-1 and better the rest.
Okay, I've marked 4 horses here for the shortlist, starting with number 5, Protector of Peace, who can go handy, and I think the claim from Sibusiso Bongani could be in its favor. The Big Bang has limitations. He can win at this level with the clear round. He's had a couple of traffic issues. Montessori shows speed, blinker strike, and we were just extolling the virtues of Richard Ferrie. It's a jockey strike here as he gets on board Andre Nell's runner. So Montessori is the sort that can wake up. Racetu mixes his form. He's drawn wide, but in a modest field, he fits okay at this level. So the 4 horses that I would focus on would be 9 and 5, 5 and 9, and then the backups 6 and 10. How do you see it playing out?
If you put up a horse here, I think a horse that can come forward. I concur what you've said. The Big Bang for me has had enough chances. Has had your 10 starts, as you would say, for 4 places. Older De Mayo on board. Again, I'm not sure whether this horse. They've been trying further. I think they thought he'd win. And he's been in a bet in the last couple of starts, but hasn't really brought it forward. By one world out of Magic Penny by Silvana to juvenile import should be a stayer, and they're back to 12.50. Montessori, I agree with you, could come forward. Just worried about the 61.5 and the draw 9. Racetu holds a couple of the runners on the coffee crunch run. He holds, let's get the Protective Peace, the favourite, and holds Royal Clinton in the race. So, I mean, he could come forward. For me, is probably the one that they got to look up to. I mean, the only thing is that he runs a good race for the apprentices. Craig exactly got on board and then ran a disappointer when he was backed in that day to favourite behind Diamond Baron. He has been costly to follow. 3 starts he started favourite and disappointed. I wouldn't be piling into him either. I'm going for a bit of value in the race. A horse that I think might come forward. My Sunshine for Ashley Fortune. I think this is a second lot of runners. Varun Jordi rides, carrying 50.5. Drawn Stallgate number 1. Has been campaigning over 1,400. They're dropping in trip to 12.50. Let's hope she's got a plan up her sleeve with her warm filly. Hopefully can race handy or just off them and produce at the right time. That's what makes it so interesting in these open handicaps, the weight differentials. I mean, this horse is getting 11 kilograms from Racetu. She actually, because being a filly against the boys, she would get an allowance anyway. I mean, in the same, she's getting chunks of weight from Montessori. So I've gone for a little bit of value here. I've gone for an each way on number 1, My Sunshine, but a trappy race, as most of these open maidens are. Yeah. Sorry to see that you left it out your calculations.
No, maybe you've unearthed the live one at a price, and you're quite correct when you talk about those weight differentials. 11 kilograms over this distance is around about, that's around about 7 lengths. So that's could potentially be significant.
Yeah, but a trappy race, and I've gone for the value. I agree with you. Also, I think we both are negative on is the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll end up with pie in our face. And the more I'm looking at it, I'm also a bit against Racetu drawn 10, even though it holds most of these on the runs behind Racetu. I'm not even sure the 12.50 will suit again either. I think I agree with you, 5 and 9, but let's hope the one could put her nose in front. Moving on to race 6, the Lucky Fish Magic Mile, Class 5, over 1,600 meters. The bidding is 3-1 Devilish Saint, 4-1 Red Dawn, 4-1 Superhero, 5-1 Gold Index, 5-1 Smart Horse, 7-1 Baton Rouge, 8-1 Midday, might as well say it, 16-1 District Master, 5 over 1,600 meters. I've singled out 2 runners in a very, very trappy race, and maybe you'll have more light with speed figures and whatever, but for me, not a race I'll be getting massively involved in. The two that I do fancy would be number 1, Devilish Saint. 2 decent runs. Her last 2 starts, she has won over course and distance and has a third. She's drawn Stallgate 1, which is a big positive. She ran a half a length behind a horse called Sommerstern, who came out on Saturday and won quite confident. She's run against fairly decent sorts, and I think his form is back to its best. Des McLaughlin, a stable that's in form, and I think she will probably take a power of beating. And the one that I'm going to put in trifectas and quartets is the 5 Gold Index. Richard Fourie on board for Robbie Barrett. He's made a bit of a name for himself since he started training. The only negative for me, she's only had 2 places from 4 starts at Durbanville, but she has Richard Fourie on board who rides her well. She's ridden it before when she ran a 4th and a 5th, and she quickened last time to win quite a decent race over 1950. If the 1600 is not too much of an inconvenience, his horses are generally very, very fit, and there are a couple of runs that they've run together with Devilish Saint, which was just behind. He was just behind him on the last start, and that's how I see the race. It's a trappy race. Narrowed it down to number 1, Devilish Saint in McLaughlin Yard, drawn 1, big positive, and number 5, Gold Index, positive being Richard Fourie, and training for Robbie Barrett.
Using the speed figures as our guide, usually in a class 5 in Cape Town, a speed figure of around 87, 88 is what's needed to win. And there are 5 horses in this race that qualify based on that, including the horses that you mentioned. So Devilish Saint will definitely be competitive off his current mark, and his running style and the low draw, and given that the pen reading is in the low 20s and there's a tailwind, he should have everything in his favor. So he is a must use on all tickets. One that might wake up is Red Dawn, just the 2 wins from 19 starts, but he does drop into calmer waters. And, this is the sort of race that he could come to light in, because his best speed figure is around 89. Superhero, recent maiden winner for Andre Nel. He might not be harshly treated with the official rating that he's been given. His speed figure was 85 plus, so he doesn't need to improve that much to be competitive in a class 5. I would suggest adding him to players as well. Gold Index, his best speed figure is around 86, 87, so he meets the par standard. And as you've noted, Robbie Barrett, Richard Fourie combo, their strike rate, albeit from a small sample, is absolutely excellent. And there's just one other horse, Andrew, that I would suggest that follows at least look at and maybe use underneath in single rates exotics, and that's Midway, who's won twice at the course, and he could be dangerous if getting away with some soft early fractions. So those are the main contenders as I see race 6.
I don't think needs further for me as well. But what we do know that there's going to be pace in the race. District Master goes off like a scalded cat from draw 8. I think we'll try and get to the front and then actually slow it down for his stable companion. I don't think he wants such hard pace. And then we have Baton Rouge, another one that's led on plenty of occasions for Pete Buerta. And I just think Devilish Saint will get the passage, and I think will only be outridden by Richard Fourie if it comes to a finish. But I think Devilish Saint is my first and solid pick, with Gold Index being involved in quartets and trifectas and exactas and swingers.
Yes.
Trappy race. But again, sorry, I keep on going back, but it will be an interesting race the way the pace folds works out in this race. We have speed balls who might go to the front and not even use their speed as a stable companion. Sorry for that. Let's move on. Race 7.
No. It's an important part of it. I mean, I know some expert handicappers who, that's the first thing they do when they look at a race. They look for a pace angle, the speed figures and the merit ratings and the trainer jockey combos and even the form and the condition of the horses. They see as secondary to how they envisage the race will be paced. And then they base their decisions on horses that will be advantaged by it, and they kick into touch horses that they think will be prejudiced by the likely pace setup. So it's a sound way to check things out, particularly in turf races, where there can be such a fluctuation between the early segments. In dirt racing, for example, they tend just to go incredibly fast, and then it's just an exercise in deceleration because everything is slowing down. But in turf racing, there's far more variation in the pace early on and how horses finish, and that's part of the challenge of this brain game, trying to predict what will happen.
One of the, and then talk about pace, but it's one of those anomalies we think on the turf when it's been raining, times are much slower, but on the poly or the dirt track, when it's been raining, the track seems to get harder and the speed figures are much quicker. So it's one of those mind games where it's been raining, it's got to be slower, but it's amazing on dirt and poly. When it rains, they seem to get quicker.
Yes, that is interesting. You sometimes see in the reports a wet, sealed track, and then the horses just skip along there.
Moving on
Yeah.
to another interesting Class 5.
Mm.
Kikulu standing at Paardenburg Stud must be a new sire, over 1,250 meters. The betting is one we spoke about earlier, we alluded to, 1 Magic 9 to 10, 4 to 1 Avignon, 5 to 1 Prince of Tibet, 7 to 1 Ozark, 8 to 1 Oktoberfest, 16 to 1 and better the rest. See, you have an each way bet here against the odds on favourite.
Yes. Sure. I did a bit of a switcheroo here because when I perused the card, I thought that 1 Magic could be the good thing, and I should maybe put it up as my best bet, because I put it onto my horse watch list the moment it won its debut, because it was a nice performance, a solid speed figure, fluent. It was visually impressive. The come home sectional was good. So I thought, well, that's probably going to be the answer in a Class 5. But then when I looked at it more closely, it's a course switch, which will test him. And then when I crunched the numbers, I saw a horse who on back form is way ahead of them on the speed figures, and that's Oktoberfest. He's got good form at the course. I think running fresh may be the answer. And those efforts to Dame of Tricks, admittedly, it's a bit of ancient history because it was quite a few months ago. But if Oktoberfest can run back to those figures in the mid-90s, then at around 9-10 to 1, he's got to be a live each way candidate. That was my take on it, Andrew. I mean, maybe before I go through the others, I'd be interested to hear what you think about. I was torn between 1 Magic and Oktoberfest, and then I just thought at the prices, there's a lot more scope and potential with Oktoberfest.
Someone, a friend of mine about this race yesterday, just said it's still a juvenile carrying 59.5.
Mm.
I mean, he could be anything. I mean, he won convincingly on debut. It was a smidgen of money for him. He was drawn 7 out of 9 that day. As you said, first time at Durbanville, which is a massive culture shock for a lot of horses. It's a completely different track to Kenilworth. As I said, he could be anything. The only worry for me with Oktoberfest, this filly, like you say, you have the 10-run rule. I've got the over 365-day rule when they haven't won. This horse hasn't won since 637 days.
Mm.
I think he's finding the correct race now. Don't like the second favourite, Avignon.
Mm.
Pete Botha, I wish he has winners, but he's so out of form at the moment. His horses have been, I think this is probably one of the flagships for him, Avignon. If Brendan Pike is on board, drawn 4, which is a positive, so will lead, will set up the race for something. If I was to have a bet against the favourite, I'd rather have a watching brief in this race and just watch the race. But I would back Prince of Tibet each way. Sean Wheeler board, stalk 3. Beat Avignon and was getting weight in the penultimate run, but then was beaten subsequently behind Gold Dust. Very soft in the market on his last run. I mean, he's a son of Patala, and a 5-year-old son of Patala. And the race doesn't look that deep if you include 1 Magic. Ozark, Richard Ferree, always a positive. as one at the track and 4 places from 12 starts, but he's held on the Gold Dust Run last time, so he'll have to turn the form with that. And as you said, if your horse comes back to her old form, she would have a squeak. But that's 637 days old form, and as you say, it's either one magic or you're going to struggle. I think that's the kind of race it's going to be.
Yeah. Look, long-term losers are often money burners. So, maybe I've made an error in putting up Oktoberfest because you can't keep making excuses for horses. But maybe there's some value, as I say, on back form. Prince of Tibet, I'm just concerned that he might be in the grip of the handicapper. He likes this track. You mentioned Richard Fourie. Whenever he rides for his fishing buddy and good mate Paul Reeves, they tend to do well together. And Ozark is one of the sort of familiar cast of characters in these Class 5 sprints. He's competitive at this level. Avignon, we'll just see how he goes. He'll probably race forwardly under Plaatjes. Whether he can keep going is another matter. But yeah, the simple summary is maybe one magic will prove too good and confirm the visually impressive debut and boost its figure. So he may go forward. Oktoberfest, we're looking sort of backwards into the murky past, but on the assumption that maybe Oktoberfest will come to light. That could be the danger. What price did you say she is? I saw around sort of 9-10 to 1.
Yes, 9-10 to 1.
Okay, cool.
4 to 1 Avignon, 5 to 1 Prince of Tibet, 7 to 1 Ozark, 10 to 1 Oktoberfest, and 16s are better. 9 to 10 the favourite.
Okay.
This is the race that I gentle each way money back, double your money on the place. And this is the race,
Andrew.
Yeah, 100%. This is the race that makes the exotics pay or not pay. This is the key for the day for a lot of the top players. One magic.
Yeah.
But moving on to the lucky last, improve your bank balance after you've been winning all in the day. Probably for me, one of the better races on the day. It's a Bright Future 8 stakes over 1,250 meters. King Regent 3 to 1. 3 to 1 the US of A. 7 to 2 Beware. 9 to 2 Gold Gaboski. 6 to 1 Absolutely Yes. 7 to 1 Dawn's Variety. 12 to 1 one of my old favourites, Dumbledore. And Write Your Own Ticket, Dreamland, number 8. Race to end the day over 1,250 meters. I'll go through a couple at the top of the boards and then I'll get to the one that I do fancy. King Regent for the Glen Cotton Yard. Bongardi rides. Positive that they're getting 2.5 kilograms off, down to 53. Another one that best runs were in Quebec on the poly track. Has thrown in 2 decent runs, of late behind Zenovi, probably one of the top horses in Port Elizabeth. He ran a cracker behind Unbaldi. He was slow away. He was coming with a run, and that was a cracking run that day. So, one that has the form of late, but also can throw in a stinker on any given day. Then we go to the US of A. Never been one of my favourite horses. I don't think I've caught the source correct. He's held by King Regent on their last run behind Unbaldi. He battled to quicken over the 1,200. He tied on the race before that behind on his penultimate start behind Cafe Culture. It's his first time at Durbanville as a 5-year-old gelding. I'll have to see him come forward. Positive is Richard Fourie stuck on him. I think a class act, but not for me. Gold Gaboski, I'll let you talk about that. I do know you fancy that. Dumbledore, I swayed in this race. She's carrying 54 with Michelle on board. Third run with blinkers. She's held on the Unbel D run last time. She was slow away that day. She jumped in. She was never really put in the race until the last 200. And I think she's one to include in quartets and trifectas at the double figure price. She has won 3 times over course and distance and a 4th from 5 starts. So most of her winning has been done at this track. She has Michelle on board, drawn 7, not a positive. So I'm reverting to the one that I think will run the biggest race for me. I'll put it down as an each way bet. I think it'll be money for others. I think it'll be a money back if he runs a place. Number 3, Beware, the son of Rafif. I mean, I just look at this horse. She ran a length and a half behind Jet Force. Jet Force came out to beat top class sprinters at the weekend. A length behind Dawn's Variety. They try to make him stay. Excuse me, I'm getting the fillies and the geldings mixed up today. Make him stay. Ran in the Guineas. He ran 6 lengths behind Jan van Goyen. Has raced at the track for a win and a third. Cracking run behind Yamazaki, beating Yamazaki, beat a horse called In Motion. Form from that sprint race last time isn't the greatest. There've been no winners from 11 runners. Let's hope she can put the one in it. Drawn 3, Sean Veal carrying 54. Lucinda is stable in form. A short little break, and I think should be cherry ripe, but I'm expecting a massive run from him.
Interesting, Andrew. This is by far the best. Yeah, far the best race on the program. It's actually a pretty strong lineup. I set the par figure at around 100 on my speed figure scale. And in fact, nearly all the horses qualify, with the exception of Dreamland, who's had 3 terrible runs this year. So he will have to wake up massively to be a factor. Going through them from the top, I think absolutely yes is interesting. Quite headstrong and a tearaway, but for some reason goes well for JP van der Merwe and has a neat record fresh. So he's going to be a pace factor for sure. King Regent, over this course and distance, if memory serves, because we have to go back into the distant past, I think he beat the horse of the year, Princess Kala. Is that correct?
Happened last week. I know he's 2 from 2 over course and distance.
Yeah, I'm sure that he actually caused a big upset years ago and beat her at this track, and then subsequently ran some big numbers on the Poly in Port Elizabeth. There were signs of life again last time. He sprinted up well behind Unbeldi. 2 problems though. I think he does have soundness issues, so he mixes his form. He is an erratic sort, and he often is slow away, which is definitely not going to be in his favor. I remember when we did the pod last time, you spoke very eloquently about slow starters drawn towards the inside getting chopped off, and that can be absolutely ruinous to their chances. For me, King Regent is a play against Beware. I've got a lot of respect for. The reason for the break is he's been gelded in the interim. He comes back after 97 days off track, and his form prior to that layoff is most appealing. And we spoke earlier in the show about just how well Lucinda Woodruff's yard is going at the moment. The US of A is a bit of a mystery. He does make his course debuts. Look, he's got a great turn of foot, and maybe the race will work out fine if he can, stalk what seems likely to be a good pace, and then quicken up well under Fourie. Though there are few that do appear to hold him at the weights, looking at Dance Variety, for example, who's waited to beat him on a previous clash. Dumbledore, 3 from 5 over the course and distance. It will be a late running threat under Michelle. But the horse that I put up as an each-way play is Gold Jabowski. He's on a roll. He's not an easy rider. That's the only thing that does concern me. Mallorca is a low percentage rider, but he gets an opportunity here to shine. So I'm looking at it positively. It will be a challenge because Gold Jabowski is a hold-up sprinter, and the race will be run quickly around the turn. So Mallorca is going to have to judge things deftly. But if I look at the horse's figures, they are improving really, really encouragingly. He ran behind Flying Finley after a break, and Richard Fourie told me that the horse was badly in need of the run and would come on leaps and bounds after that encouraging comeback. And that's what gave me confidence at his follow-up, which he won in some style. It was a fluent and convincing win under Craig Zaki. So to me, Gold Jabowski is trending positively. If he gets a good trip, then he should put forth a really good effort, especially seeing he's only set to carry 51 kilograms. So for all of those reasons, Andrew, that's what prompted me to go with Gold Jabowski in the last as my each way play.
See that some cracking runs, 2 lengths behind Star Major. The only worry for me with Gold Gaboski, not that I've ever caught the source right over. It's one of those enigmas in my side. I never seem to catch a source right. The trip. I know he's won over course and distance, has won at the course and a second, but I thought this was probably needed further. It's one of those races. USFA doesn't look like he'll get the trip. These are decent horses, and they've tried to make them stay in a few races. Beware being one, get it to run in the Guineas. King Regent, I think he is what he is. I mean, his course form is great. His course and distance form is great. But one of my negatives, 627 days. Never been sold on absolutely yes. I'm not sure the trip will suit either, even they ran 2 lengths last time. And that got checked in running. An interesting race, and I think it'll be run at a true pace. So I think we will get a proper run race. And may the best horse win. Maybe Swingers and Exactors with our 2 that we fancy, Beware and Gold Gaboski, and finish the afternoon with a decent profit, hopefully.
Yeah, that could prove rewarding. And just a reminder for the followers, that you can take fixed odds on the Interbet exchange platform, and then there also are full tote facilities. So if you're more inclined towards exotic betting, it's easy enough to place all of your tote bets through the Interbet site.
Would you like for the World Cup, Mark?
Well, perhaps I put early on.
Not a trick question. Not a trick question.
Sort of distracted me a little bit because I wrote an article looking at dark horses, and in the World Cup, and I think Morocco and Norway were 2 that are labelled as having a chance of going further than what the odds indicated. So I'm pleased to see that they're still alive. But from what I've seen, France looked to be brilliant. I mean, they've just got so much attacking flair, and they're cohesive as a side, and they're at the peak of their power. So that would, yeah, that's yeah. Despite that being, a practical sort of assassination hitman thing, rather, as you were saying earlier, rather than a soccer game. So maybe France would crack the nod as the most probable winners, but I'll be interested to see how my dark horse picks go, and if they could maybe progress another round or 2. What do you like?
Today's a very important game. I mean, probably the game. I thought last night was the game of the tournament so far in watching and the atmosphere and whatever. But I think today's a massive game, the Spain-Portugal match.
Yeah.
I think because either one of these 2, whoever goes forward today, I think will probably be in the final. I thought Norway played very well against aging Brazil team, and they have Erling Haaland in their team, who's a scoring machine at the moment. I still can't see one of the roughies winning it. I think it'll be fought out between France, Argentina, Spain, and whoever wins from that other lot. So I think it's going to be a form result this year. I think we've seen a few shocks. We've seen the magic of Cape Verde, particularly well, the team of the tournament, and nice to see a minnow doing so well. And I felt sorry for them when they lost 3-2 in extra time.
Yes.
But as you say, I think France, they're taking it easy. I think that's what happened with Brazil. Brazil thought they were much better than Norway, and they took their time, and it backfired. I mean, they missed a penalty. They had a couple of chances early doors. So Norway, I mean, they've won well. But now they take on England. England, a team that's been struggling to score, and they put 3 in last night and held on against immense pressure. Let's hope they're peaking at the right time. And I see they've lost one of their players, Jordan Henderson. He never even played. He was on the bench. He picked up a yellow card for dissent against the referee, and then was celebrating and fell over and broke his wrist.
That's it.
Couldn't make it up.
Injured during a celebration. Then you cursed.
He jumped over the hoarding with the lights and that, and he slipped like a jump horse. Slipped and fell and broken his wrist. I mean, what can I say? That's sport. That's sport for you. I mean, he hasn't even travelled with the team. He's still in hospital in Mexico, by all accounts.
Oh, so
But let's not.
remember
Let's get back.
Klopp doing his hamstring during
Yeah.
a celebration on the sideline. When he launched himself about 10 centimeters above the ground.
It's a wonderful game. But let's get back to the important part about
The
tomorrow
beautiful game.
at Durbanville, the country course. Let's hope we've steered the viewers in the correct way, in the right way, found a few winners, discussed a bit of sense, hopefully. Again, thank you, Mark, for coming on board. Anything to end the podcast from your side?
Absolute pleasure being a guest here, Andrea. I really enjoy the banter, listening to your take on things. Yeah, hope that we are pointing the viewers in the right direction, or at the very least just providing them with food for thought and maybe some techniques and strategies that can help to improve their own handicapping and wagering strategies. But I'm enjoying being part of things, and thanks for having me on the...
Stay safe, be lucky. I'll see you again for Friday. Thank you, everybody. Cheers, Marcus. Have a good one.
Be well. Cheers.